Hey, are you looking for tips on setting up your GH5s for low light? Alright then, come with me. Hi everybody, I have my Panasonic Lumix GH5s with me again today, and I'm going to talk about some of the excellent low light features this thing has. So there's two different menu modes for this camera, like a lot of cameras. You have the creative video mode and the creative photo mode. So if you're taking video in the creative photo mode, you want to make sure that your ISO settings in the creative photo mode are set appropriately, because it won't necessarily show you on the screen that your ISO settings are set too low. When you go to record, it'll just suddenly go darker, which can be a little annoying, more than a little annoying, I guess, because you like to be ready to capture the scene, right? So these are little things that I didn't know about and I was not aware of when I first started shooting and I wanted to capture some low light scenes. I didn't realize that the photo ISO setting would impact my video in the creative photo mode. I thought that once you set the ISO video in that menu, then you'd be golden, but no. You have to set your ISO sensitivity, and it's probably best just to leave it in auto. That way you get the full range, and that way you can use the extended ISO. That brings me to another thing that I'd like to touch on, is that when you're in some creative video modes, creative picture styles, I should say, like a vlog or some of those, then you also will have a limitation on your ISO as well. And you may only be able to go up to like 6400 and not up to the really high levels this thing is known for. Another thing to take into consideration with low light shooting on this camera, or pretty much any camera I guess, is that your autofocus will be compromised. Autofocus pretty much depends on good light, and your sensor may be able to compensate and with software and whatnot and all, but generally low light is your enemy. Another thing I should mention too is that cranking up your ISO is not necessarily a bad thing. What makes grainy video is actually low light, not cranking up the ISO. So you can always get around low light by allowing more light into the lens in various other ways. Which brings me to another fascinating and great feature about this camera, is the different options when it comes to shutter speed and shutter angle. And shutter speed, we all know, is basically just speed, just like how it sounds. You're taking one frame out of a 250th of a second. You can go one way or the other and have really slow frames with more blurry, or you can have faster frames with more like jarring, jagged action. This thing also has shutter angle. You can set the shutter angle instead of the shutter speed, and shutter angle is basically like an old thing from the days when they would have a wheel behind the lens where the image is captured onto the film, and it would have like a slit with a metal thing that would slide and increase the opening of that slit. So basically, if it was all the way open, that would be 360 degrees. And if it's halfway open, you have 180 degrees. And if it's closed, well, that's closed. So if you set your shutter angle to 180 degrees, then basically no matter what recording format you're in, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about doubling your shutter speed or anything like that, like you're supposed to be. If you're shooting at 60 frames per second, you're supposed to be at 1/120 in your shutter speed. If you're shooting 30 frames per second, you should be 1/60. But with shutter angle, you can just set it to 180 and forget it. But also, if you need to push the light a little, you can open that up a little, which is great. I think it seems to work better than just a regular shutter speed. That's one thing I absolutely love about this camera, or features like that. Hey, if you like this video, why not hit the like button and subscribe down below. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified of fresh new videos as soon as they come out. So come on, let's go. So the ISO on this camera has been drastically improved. It's because of its 12.5 megapixel sensor. You heard that right. Nobody's saying that. It is a 12.5 megapixel sensor, not a 10.2 megapixel sensor. It is 10.2 megapixels effectively captured. This is true, but it is actually a 12.5 megapixel camera. Maybe just for photos or whatever. It does take 4K photos. I don't think it does the 6K photos. No, it only does 4K photos, and it does all the bracketing features and all that, which makes it great for low light as well. The ISO has been drastically improved from the GH5, which went up to about 25,000, I think. And then with its extended ISO, it went to 51 51,200, but now this one goes to 51,200, and its extended ISO goes up to 204,800, which is just ginormous. And let me tell you, the low light looks fantastic. It's easily twice as good. This thing takes in twice as much light on its sensor, gives you almost 2 full stops more of light. $6,400 on this camera looks a lot cleaner than a $6,400 on a GH5 or a G9 or something like that. So you're gonna love it. Ooh, you're gonna love it. Especially when you're doing your beautiful slow motion and low light. Another thing I should mention is that this is a dual native ISO, which is a part of what makes the incredible low light possible. So native ISO is the ISO at which the camera can capture and convert a signal without any amplification whatsoever. And this camera has 2 different native ISOs. So there's 2 different circuits for 2 different ISO sets. So your first native ISO is 400. You'll have no amplification on your signal at 400 ISO. And the next highest ISO would be 2,500. That's where it would start over again, and you'll get 2,500 and beyond. It looks really clean, no amplification at 2,500. You'll thoroughly enjoy the rich, colorful pictures. No color will be washed out like some other camera that washes their color out. Damn them. Ooh, yeah, so the noise is reset at 2,500 and it's a different circuit. So those are about all the things you need to know for accessing the low light features. Just remember, if you're having any problems accessing any of those features or any other problems at all, just try resetting your camera to factory defaults. If you have any other suggestions or comments, leave those down below and we can chat further. So just remember some of the things I touched on to be able to access some of your low light. Make sure that you're not in any weird picture style like vlog or something else if you wanted to get really high ISOs. So just make sure your ISO settings are set properly in each creative video mode or creative photo mode menus, because that way you'll be set whether you're shooting video in either mode, because you can shoot video in any mode. This is a video camera after all. This is not a hybrid camera. This is a video camera. You do well to remember that this is a video camera in 3D. 3D video cameras flying through space. 3D video cameras attached to human arms while flying through space. Just remember, 3D video cameras in space attached to a human hand, because human hands are out in space. That's where they belong. There's also one more really cool ISO feature, but I'm gonna tease you with that and put that in a different video just to make you come watch it. So come check out my other video that'll be out in a week or so about the GH5s and 5 secret tips that you may not know about it. Alright, it looks like we made it to the end of this video. Hit that like button if you liked it and it added value to your life. Hit the subscribe button and then you'll get more. Especially if you hit that notification bell. Alright, let's get out of here. Whoa, hold on. Stick around for some more videos. I think we got something here.